I was going to just jump on here and share this Theater Fold, Fun Fold card. I had done this project last week with my team, and they requested a video. So here I am. So this is the Theater Fold, Fun Fold card, and it's a movable card, so you can just pull these pieces open the curtains, and to see the show. And this is actually done with all the trimmings product suite in the holiday catalog. That's not what it's called anymore, but that's what I call it, just because that's what I can remember and it's easier to say. So anyway, the Trimming the Town Designer Series paper, so it's the Trimming the Town suite, and it includes the Coming Home stamp set. It's a photopolymer stamp set with these cute little houses and trees, a little wreath, a little Volkswagen bug, and then also the Home Together dies. So the houses, you can cut the houses out and the trees out. Now the paper, the Designer Series paper, has all of these cute little houses that coordinate with the dies, so it's just a ton of fun. So I had a lot of fun this last week just cutting out a lot of houses and trees and wreaths, and so that when I'm ready to sit down and make cards, these are all cut out and ready for me. Really cute. So I'm excited to play with this a little bit. So anyway, that's what I used for this theater card. And I'm going to show you how to do this. So we're going to start with, I took some Night of Navy is my card base, pretty much what I used here. Move some things out of my way here. So I'm going to start with two pieces. These two pieces right here, these two pieces of Night of Navy measure 4 inches by 5.5 inches. And I'm just going to take and score these pieces at 1 1.25. Now I have my 5.5 inch edge along the top of the score tool. So I'm going to go to 1.25. And I'm going to score, make sure I have my scoring blade, not my cutting blade. Then I'm going to go to 2 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to score again. So this is going to be scored in 2 places. And then I'm going to do the same on this piece of cardstock. So there's 2 pieces that measure 4 inches by 5.5, scoring at 1.25 and 2 3/4. And then I'm going to fold those on the score line, and they're going to get folded kind of like on a little accordion fold here. They're going to get folded the same as each other, the same way. And now I have these 2 pieces of, again, Night of Navy cardstock. Now these pieces measure 5.5 by 4.25. So I'm going to put one of these aside because I'm going to be using this as the front and as the frame. So I'm going to just be working with one of these right now, 5.5 and 4.25. And I'm going to take these 2 pieces that I just scored and take some tear and tape. And I'm going to be putting the tear and tape just along, this is the 1 1/4 inch edge. So I'm going to put a couple strips, one just right along the edge, and it doesn't have to be precise. It's okay if it's not straight and whatnot. Then I'm going to put one along the folded edge. And the nice thing about the tear and tape is you can just tear it off. You don't have to worry about cutting it. It is very sticky, so I'm going to do the same thing here on this piece. And again, I'm going to go along the folded edge, tear that. So this is probably the most difficult part of this entire card, I would say. You're going to need to line this up. The very first thing I'm going to do before I take the backing off, I want to make sure that these are about approximately the same size of this when they're put together. So I'm putting these folded edges together. So I'm taking, this is the straight edge, no scoring here, and I'm going to line that up with the edge of my card, and then I'm going to line this one up with the edge of my card, and I want to make sure that there's no overhang, and it looks like it's pretty good. So it actually looks like it's nearly exact. So now I can go ahead and take the backing off of my tape, perhaps. Sometimes it's a little bit easier said than done. Okay, let's try it from this end. Oh, it's funny, my tape is coming off of the backing is coming up, and the tape is coming off with the backing. Okay, And then I'm going to line this up. Now, it is 1/4 of an inch narrower, so I'm going to have just 1/8 of an inch on the top, along the top and the bottom. So I'm gonna kind of eyeball that center to center, but I'm gonna go right to the cut edge, centering it top and the bottom. I don't know if you can see that because it's color on color. Basically, it's hard to tell. Take the backing off of this piece, same thing. And now on this one here, I'm actually going to turn it this way so I can see what I'm doing a little bit more clearly. Again, I'm going right along the edge of the cardstock, and I'm centering it side to side. So they meet in the middle. They actually meet in the middle pretty, it's a little bit. I'm going to pull on it a little bit and adjust it. If you have a bone folder, I'm just using my fingernail here because that seems to be what's working. Anyway, you do want them to meet in the middle. So there's the start of my card. This is the card base. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I have this piece of Designer Series paper, and this is a piece of the Trimming the Town Designer Series paper, and this piece measures 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And I'm going to take, now I'm using the Stitch Rectangle dies. Stitch Rectangle dies for the Designer Series paper. I'm actually going to be using the 3rd from the largest. So I'm going to count in 3 from the largest, and I'm going to use the 3rd one. The measurements of this one is actually 4 1/8 by 2 3/4 if you were to measure the outside, so that would be helpful. I'm going to take this, center it side to side, up and down, and then I'm going to take this over to my Big Shot or my die cutting machine, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and this is what I'm going to have. So I will wind up with this frame from the Stitch Rectangles. So now I'm going to take my other piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch Night of Navy cardstock and position this. I'm not going to tape it down, but I'm just going to position it. I'm going to center it. I've got just a little bit of an edge, a 1/16 of an inch edge all the way around. And now I'm going to take the next rectangle, stitched rectangle, smaller. So if you count from the largest one, it'll be the 4th one down. This one actually measures 4 1/2 by 3 1/8 from the outside, along the outside. And I'm going to center this right inside my frame. Now, if you have some washi tape or removable tape, you could actually tape that down, and that way you would make sure that you're getting it centered and you're going to have an even frame all the way around. So then I'm actually going to take this over and cut this with the Big Shot or your die cutting machine, whatever machine you have, and then I'm going to wind up with this. So I have my frame. I have my frame all cut out here. So I'm going to take adhesive. This is our Stamp and Seal, the new adhesive that we have in our annual catalog this year, and just put on all 4 sides. It is very sticky adhesive. And then center this on my frame. Okay, so there we go. That actually looks pretty good, pretty centered. So I've got my frame, I've got my card base, I have this piece here. Now this, again, same Designer Series paper, Trimming the Town. This is actually going to measure 5 3/8 by 3 7/8 is what this one should measure, because this is going to be going on, this time I do want the cutting blade. Okay, so this is going to be going on these pieces here. This is my curtain. So I'm actually going to cut this in half, but I did want it in one solid piece because I do, when I cut it in half, I want it to match up to be one picture. So this is going to get cut in half. So 5 3/8 divided in half is 2 5/8. Let me just tell you a little quick secret tip to just be sure. Just crease it, fold it in half, put a little crease in it, and then put it in your cutter. And yes, I am right. It is 2 5/8. Oh, you know what? It is just a little bit over 2 5/8. So we'll just see how this turns out, because I thought that I had figured this out ahead of time, but that's actually pretty darn good. Pretty close. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is our trio punch, our trio corner punch, and I'm going to be rounding the corners. I want to make sure that I have the center. I want to make sure that my center is truly the center and not this way, because I want it to match up. So I'm going to be trimming the corners, just rounding the corners with this little punch here on the correct corners. Trimming my corners, rounding my corners on the edges of the little curtain here. And now this piece, move this out of the way, this is going to get taped. Now I'm taping right on the folded edge, so there's actually no border along the folded edge, but there is a little bit of a border up and down and then on the cut edge, the straight edge. So do the same thing here with this piece. So I'm taping it right along the folded edge, leaving a little bit of a border. So we've got our curtain, our picture. So this piece here is going to get a couple of little bands on the back of it. I'm going to bring my scoring tool back in, and I have these two strips. These two strips measure 5.5 by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to just score on one of the edges, one side, at 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just scoring at 3/4 of an inch from one of the sides, and then on both pieces, and then fold those. Now these are going to actually get, you want these to measure, you want these to be fairly snug, but you don't want them to be so tight that it doesn't slide. So this is going to be, this wants to measure so that these will slide through it. So I'm hooking the part that I scored over the one edge, and now I'm just going to fold. I'm just going to finger crease it. Do the same thing. This one's going to go to the right. I'm going to do the same thing here on the left side, and then I'm just again going to kind of finger crease it and then pull it off and make sure that it's actually scored straight. Okay, so this one's my right side, this one's my left side. Now this is going to get a little bit of the tear and tape again. So we're going to take just some little pieces, tear that in half, and it's going to get taped right to that folded edge, just up to the score line. If it hangs over a bit, it's not going to hurt anything. You don't want it to hang over a ton, but if it's just hanging over a little bit, it's okay. And then find my edge again, putting a piece on this one. This one's going to hang over a little bit too much, so I am going to trim it off a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'm going to pull the backings off. Okay, so now these are going to get folded under, and it's going to get taped right along that edge, the cut edge. So I'm going right up to the frame cut edge. You don't want it to stick out because you don't want it to show. And then up and down, again, there's probably about 1/8 of an inch at the top and the bottom, side to side. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one here, kind of keeping in mind that this is my right side, so that when I go to do my frame, it probably really wouldn't make that much difference, but it might. Okay. Again, right up to that cut edge of the frame, centering it up and down, so leaving just a little bit of a gap. And then I've got, this is what I have. I have my little slides, is what this has done. So this is going to slide onto here, and then this one here is going to slide into this one. And that's what makes your card open and close. Oh, one thing I forgot to do. So now if you happen to have a 1-inch circle punch, Stampin' Up! Has retired this, so we don't carry it anymore. However, we do carry the layering circles dies, and those will work, but the circle punch is just a little bit handier, easier to use. I'm actually going right up to, I'm not cutting into this back band. It's not a problem if you do. Just a lot of layers to punch through. So I'm just going just a little bit. I'm eyeballing it side to side, trying to get it in the center, and doing the same thing on the other side. I got some tape on that, so it's not coming out of the punch. And then doing the same thing on the other side, right in just a little bit, little tiny bit, and then centered side to side. And then that gives us some little finger pulls. It gives us some little places for our fingers to be able to pull on that card. So I have this finished for right now. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside. On the inside, I chose a greeting. Our Coming Home stamp set doesn't have any greetings in it, so I pulled in a greeting from the Poinsettia Petals stamp set, which is a beautiful stamp set in and of itself, and it's got quite a few cute little greetings. So I'm using Night of Navy ink. Now, on my card, remember that this frame is going to be sticking up a little bit. So when I do this, the inside, I'm going to come up because that frame's going to be covering a good, about probably 3/4 of an inch of the bottom edge here. So I'm going to come up. This grid paper is perfect because each little square is 1/4 of an inch, so it helps me to measure and know where I'm going. And I want to go up about 3/4 of an inch. Perfect. Okay, so here's my warm wishes from our home to yours, and I'm gonna, I should have told you, this piece here measures 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and I'm gonna just put a little bit of adhesive, and then it's gonna go on a piece of red, real red, and the real red measures 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, so I just have, again, about a 1/16 of an inch mat around it, and then I'm gonna put the real red onto the back of my card. Now this, it pretty much goes from fold to fold, and then it also pretty much goes from the edge of these pieces, so it'll cover, my goal was to cover that whole inside cut piece so that you've got a nice finish. And it's actually gonna, I might need to pull it up just a little bit and scooch it. There we go. So yeah, that folds nicely. Okay, so now we're going to do the inside. I cut these cute little houses out with this little wreath and then some trees. Now, a lot of times along the bottom edge of your paper, you have images that have been cut off. So this tree went right along the bottom edge of the paper, and I thought, you know what, I can still use that tree. So I went ahead and cut it. I'm going to put this house on first, and it's going to go just above my greeting. And then I'm actually going to use a Stampin' Dimensional for this little house here. And it's going to go, I'm going to cover that little door because this is now going to be the entrance of this house. And then I'm going to take the little mini Stampin' Dimensionals, put one on the back of the wreath. And there's a whole sheet of, there's actually 2 whole sheets of little wreaths in the Designer Series paper package. And they're super cute. So I'm going to stick that there. And now I'm going to just put adhesive right on the back of this larger tree. Okay, so I have taken and put the little curtains into the little sleeves on the back of this card. And then that's what we wind up with. We wind up with our little curtain, our theater card. Now I'm going to real quick just show you, I'm stamping some trees. I just stamped a little tree. Again, the tree is included. There's 2 different sizes of trees that are included in the Coming Home stamp set. And I'm just stamping these trees with Memento black ink. And I'm going to I have the bronze, this is actually the bronze marker. And then I've got the Old Olive Light and the Old Olive Dark. So I'm going to just do the bronze, the little trunk with the bronze. Just color that in a little bit. And then using the light. Now, a lot of people, when they color with the Stampin' Blends, they like to color with the dark, wherever they want the dark first, and then they use the light to blend. I do both. I do color with the light just because I like to get that color down. So I'm getting the color onto the paper first, and then I'm going to come back. This is just kind of the way I choose to do it, and it works well for me, so hopefully it will work well for you. So then I'm going to come in with the dark, and I'm just going to add dark Old Olive where I want it to be a little bit shaded. So I'm just going to do a little bit underneath that and then down the side. Now I'm going to come back with the light. Now I'm using the fine tip of the light pen, because I can put a little bit more pressure on it without ruining the tip. And I'm actually going to rub it. I'm going to kind of work that color in so that that dark, I don't have a line. I don't have a harsh line. Doing the same thing here, just rubbing that color in, blending. That's the beauty of the alcohol-based markers, is you've got the time to kind of blend that color to get rid of those harsh lines so that it looks a little bit more natural. Now I still have a little bit of a line, so I'm going to come back with the brush tip, and I'm just going to gently smooth out those lines a little bit And again, I'm doing this with the light. I'm blending the dark into the light with the light ink. So then I'm gonna, I've already actually done that. So I'm gonna, these would go to the Big Shot. There are dies to cut these out. I've already done 3 of them just for the sake of time. And this is gonna get taped straight, flat, onto the card here. Now when you put your adhesive on, make sure that it's not hanging over where it's gonna be hitting the card. And then this one here, I'm gonna put mini dimensional, and I'm gonna put it low. I want it to go low on this tree because I don't want it, I want this tree top to hang over the card a little bit. And it's just gonna go about there. And now I'm gonna put a larger dimensional on this one, and again going low because it's gonna hang over, it's gonna hang up over the card. And now for the very last touch, I'm using all the trimmings embellishments. I'm gonna use a couple of different sizes. I'm gonna use this larger size here, and it's gonna go just in the corner of my frame. And then I'm gonna take a couple of smaller ones. I like the fact that there's 2 sizes of these. And these are real red, which is nice to match the rest of the card. I'm just kind of making a little corner deal. So there we have it. This one's kind of coming out a little bit. Let's fix that, put that one back in. So there's the card. So I hope this was something that you've enjoyed, and I hope that the dimensions and the instructions are clear enough that you can go and make one and have a time of creativity. I know we all need that right now. So thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping that this has inspired you and that you will try making one of these cards at home. And if you wish to order any of the products that I've used in this card, you can just go to my website. My website is down below the video, and enjoy. Thanks so much. Bye.